Hello everyone, I'm Sean Watson, VP of Special Projects here at Trend Hunter.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Brown, Trend Hunter's Chief Growth Officer.
And welcome to Future Festival's World Summit's most frequently asked questions. So today, we're here to give you a little peek behind the curtain of what's coming up for Future Festival World Summit 2022. And before we dive into too many details, we thought it'd be best if we answered some frequently asked questions. What is Future Festival? What makes it great? And why should I attend? I mean, I guess the best place to start is, what is Future Festival?
Future Festival, the people say that Future Festival is the world's highest rated innovation conference. I say that it's like our Super Bowl of innovation. This is where the world's top creators, top innovators come to prototype their future. We give you a glimpse into the different ways that the future will be changing and allow you to experience tools and techniques that we use with our clients all over the world to adapt those innovation futures to what matter for you.
Yeah. And, from a more general perspective, from our perspective, Future Festival really is the penultimate moment for us in the year. This is where we're diving into our system to see what was most popular, what was most impactful from a trend perspective, and sharing it with all of our attendees from around the world. We can bring together, well over 1,000 of some of the world's top tier innovators from some of the world's most powerful brands and really get a chance to experience how they create the future. It's a really unique place to be and a place that you need to be definitely this September.
I was going to say, logistically, Future Festival is a 3-day innovation conference happening September 27th to the 29th here in Toronto, Canada.
So, second question. What separates Future Festival from other conferences? It's a great question. I think for me, one of the most important pieces, as you know, we both go to a ton of conferences over the year, is the ability to have a focused, curated experience. It's choreographed, it's intentional, and it's really meant to bring our entire attendees up to speed on what's going to be affecting them for the next year. But even more importantly than that, the fact that we're giving you something to take home. It's not just about being inspired and getting a quote that you can put on your desk or written down in a book that you lose 2 weeks later. It's really about understanding the frameworks, the trends, the things that are happening, and getting these 5 to 10 actionable ideas that you can bring back to your company and actually make the future happen.
Absolutely. The conference is purposefully designed to combine the experiential and the memorable with the research that contextualizes it all. So you'll go through different experiences that you've never had before, and you'll be able to tell those stories and have those cues in your memory of these extreme things that you saw or witnessed or went through, and then you'll be able to tie those to the research we provide about how those experiences mean something in the larger context of retail or whatever category you're looking at.
And let's talk about how we do that. So Future Festival is a 3-day experience. The first day, one of some of my favorite days. This is where we have our world famous trend safaris, where we're actually taking our attendees out into the streets of Toronto, outside of the conference room, and introducing to the people who are, the progenitors of these trends, people who are living these trends, breathing, pushing them in the marketplace. So a chance to actually experience them, how they're happening from the leaders in the space. So trend safaris, definitely one of my favorite parts of Future Festival, and we kick off day one the right way.
And that's a great way to get to know people because you end up on this, for lack of a better term, field trip with all of these people from all over the world and in a lot of different companies who self-selected into that topic. So it might be that you go and look at Gen Z recreation, or you look at, modern foodie, whatever it might be that you self-select into. That you're going to get variety and diversity in the experience and in the folks that are accompanying you along the way. And it's just a great icebreaker to start the conference, because then you go back to, to the keynotes days and the workshop days to follow, and you already have some buddies.
Yeah, and day 2 is a fantastic day as well. I mean, that's where we really turn on the fire hose and really start pushing those insights at you. But day 2 is a full day of TED-style keynotes that are brought to you by our Futurists, some of the most requested speakers on innovation out there today.
So speaking of which, our headliner is Jeremy Gutsche, our CEO. He's an author, an innovation thinker, a speaker, actually the most viewed innovation speaker on YouTube. He's written 3 different books, Exploiting Chaos, Better and Faster, and his latest one called Create the Future. So he'll be anchoring the show as well on day 2, giving you some brand new content that he's developing special for this audience and for this sort of very interesting and dynamic time in history.
Absolutely. And then we have crowd favorites like the micro generations with our meetup. amazing to see how that's developed over the past few years with all the changes we've been going through. We're going to be diving into media, we're going to dive into food and bev, retail. I'm really excited for my Future Tech presentation. Got some surprises for you. But day 2 is a full plate. And we promise you by the end of that day, you'll have more than enough inspiration, insight to tackle the future.
This is not your grandfather's keynote presentation. And that, I think, is part of the magic, because you know that we start from a place of credible data backing up our presentations. We're the world's largest trend spotting platform. So when you build a compelling narrative and entertain people on top of really credible data, that's, I think, the secret sauce that we're able to give out every time we do one of these.
Absolutely, and then that brings us to day 3. You know, day 1 is really focused on kind of exciting you, and then day 2 is really focused on inspiring you and being insightful. And day 3 is really where we get to those ideas. And you know, a lot of times you ask, you know, what's the ROI on inspiration and ideas? Well, you know, us giving you these 5 to 10 actionable ideas to take back to your business if not enough, but also the frameworks to help you run those workshops at your place of work with your team in different scenarios is really where a ton of the value in Future Festival comes, in my opinion.
Agreed. I think day 3 is when we teach you how to fish.
Yeah.
Right? And especially right now, with so much changing and so many possible futures ahead of us in any given scenario or company, it can be really important to take the time to think about where things could go. And that's where on day 3 this year is going to be, I think, a real big hit, because we'll be looking at scenario planning and what are the different, not the most likely future, because I bet you've already planned for that, but how do we plan for our businesses to tackle, you know, 3 other maybe less likely scenarios in the future, but if we have plans for them, we'll be ready so that we can tackle those different iterations of those futures that might pop up.
And then, you know, after all that sounds great and wonderful, but at the core of it, what really makes Future Festival fantastic is the people. The type of people who attend, the groups that attend, the teams that attend, really turn it into an event that's unlike any other. We often talk about this idea of creative collisions, having these different disparate groups come together and clash different ideas. We have different forced networking, fun games that we play. Will any of you get access to the secret room? Well, I guess we'll have to see. But this idea of bringing the people who are on the cutting edge of the most powerful brands together to meet in a place of inspiration, a place of ideas, and then to workshop through ideas is, I think, one of the most powerful pieces for Future Festival. And then you have that added factor of, you know, something that we champion at Trend Hunter all the time, the idea of pulling from adjacent categories in industry. As you know, no new ideas that under the sun is great, and you know, good artists create and great artists steal. So the idea of being able to tap a partner or a colleague or a peer from another category and get their insight on the world changing is really one of the most powerful pieces as well. You know, we're talking about people in insights, we're talking about people in marketing and innovation, people in product development, and even large sales team will join us. And I think that's another key piece to Future Festival we need to talk about, the value of bringing your team to the event and getting inspiration as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of models for that, right? We've had C-level folks from major entertainment organizations come up with other C-level counterparts of theirs, specifically to influence leadership to start thinking with the same language. I've seen other models where consumer insights leaders will bring the 3 or 4 or 5 other folks that are on their team so that they don't have to translate all of the findings back to them after the show. I've seen instances where organizations mandate cross-functional attendance. So I remember one year there was a group that came with 6 from a broadcasting organization, and they could not attend unless they got 2 participants from 3 different divisions.
And you know, that idea of the forced offsite, I love that, right? Where you're taking, maybe if you're working on a specific project right now, and taking that group out of their environment into a new environment with a framework they can use to attack a specific project that's an issue for their business or something that they're trying to, hurdle they're trying to get over for their brand. The ability and the frameworks at Future Festival help make that process an interesting new one. So it's always fantastic when we see teams come together and join a Future Festival. But that doesn't mean you can't do well without a team. This idea of building relationships is another key part of what we do at Future Festival. If you don't bring a team, for sure on day 3 you'll be with a group of like-minded creative individuals working on frameworks, on ideas that may or may not work specifically for your project, but giving you those tools to take back and inspire your team to get to the next level.
Absolutely. We've had hospitals from Singapore send an individual person to Future Festival. We've seen entrepreneurs from Dubai come across the Atlantic for Future Festival specifically, all on their own, but they never leave alone. They always end up with some new connections. And that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, is to come to a conference like Future Festival alone. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to come to Future Festival alone than it is to go to most conferences because of these forced collisions. But I definitely recommend that you try to think about, at least a duo to come with, so that, and even better, a team, because then you can really diversify your exposure to the trend safaris, and you can just get the most out of the experience, because you might not hear something that your teammate picks up on, and that's the sort of the connective tissue that can help you make sure you get the most out of the experience.
Yeah, and I think our theme for this year is an important one, this idea of decoding the return. And if this was any of help for you from a frequently asked question perspective, take this as a sampler of some of the things we'll be breaking down as we enter into Future Festival World Summit this year, which is September 27th to 29th, held here in Toronto, Canada. We both look very much forward to seeing you join us in person.